Hello there. There are many different dangers on our planet. Predators, extreme temperatures, deep oceans, and even plants. Yeah, some plants or fungi can pose a serious threat to humans, especially if you get scared easily, because sometimes these dangerous living organisms are really terrifying, and it's best to stay as far away from them as possible. But if you want to know more despite all the dangers, then let's get it on. Devil's fingers. When these mushrooms were first mentioned on social media under the creepy name of devil's fingers, they provoked fierce debate among users, even though specialists have known about this species for a long time. But what exactly were they arguing about? Well, about its appearance, because the fungus resembles the eggs from the movie Alien, or props from some space movie.
See this shit?
In any case, it looks totally fake. This demonic fungus of the family of stinkhorn mushrooms was first mentioned in 1860 in the description of the Tasmanian flora and has since spread to the rest of the world. Initially, the fungus lies folded inside a gelatinous egg, then it begins to grow and opens like a flower, throwing its slimy tentacles to the sides. Quite a show. The fungus is truly horrifying and generates a foul odor to attract flies. After withering, the devil's fingers seem no less frightening. The fungus resembles the pale hand of a dead man protruding from beneath the earth. It's a great Halloween decoration if you want to scare off your neighbors, guests, and family members, but you're probably wondering if you can eat this mushroom. Well, we doubt very much that our viewers, having smelled the devil's fingers, would even consider eating them, but apparently some people have tried it and discovered that the taste of the mushroom is just as disgusting, and they lived to tell the tale. Bleeding tooth fungus. It's impossible to overlook the bleeding tooth fungus, just like the devil's fingers. This fungus is very visible in the forest due to its secretions. The bleeding tooth fungus looks like a deformed bleeding marshmallow. It secretes bubbles filled with red liquid, thanks to which it is known as strawberries and cream, the red juice tooth, devil's tooth, and many other names. But why tooth? It's all due to its irregular shape that really resembles an old tooth. Well, with some help from your imagination, of course. This fungus is quite common in the world. It prefers coniferous forests and regularly surprises inexperienced mushroom hunters with its appearance. However, despite the red drops and terrifying legends, the bleeding tooth fungus is not poisonous, although it is absolutely inedible because of its taste. It's just too bitter. Sea anemone fungus. The Acerorubra mushroom is also known as the octopus stinkhorn, proving once again how well developed some people's imaginations are. But it's also known as the sea anemone fungus, because this mushroom has some things in common with sea anemones. It looks like a red starfish covered in brownish slime standing on a white stem, although not on a coral reef but right in the middle of the forest. The sea anemone fungus was first discovered in the 18th century and is now widespread in Australia and southeast Queensland, eastern Victoria, and Tasmania. Like many of these mushrooms, this one has a very distinctive smell that can make an unprepared person vomit easily, especially if the person confuses the sea anemone fungus with a flower and bends over to smell it. However, for much of its life, the fungus is inconspicuous and white, but as it ripens, the fungus begins to bloom. In just a couple of months, a terrible monster covered in slime is born. Titan arum. One of the world's largest flowers grows for 5 years before it begins to bloom, but the flowering period is not at all pleasant. Although it only lasts a couple of days, the flower gives off a scent that can make anyone dizzy. Imagine a mixture of rotten eggs and fish. Also rotten. Hope you haven't lost your appetite or anything. The flower petals look like pieces of raw meat, which only increases the effect. Of course, nature doesn't do this to scare away curious tourists. In this way, the plant attracts insects and reproduces. Unfortunately, these are not butterflies and bees. The Titan arum has an impressive size. Underneath the ground, it has a giant root that weighs up to 50 kilograms. Outside, we see a leaf up to 3 meters long and a spadix from 2 to 5 meters long. As you can see, it is huge. Initially, the Titan arum grew only in the forests of the Indonesian island of Sumatra, but the people who visited the place practically exterminated it. Now this rare flower is grown mainly in greenhouses in botanical gardens around the world. Red cage. This is a real mushroom, not a 3D printed toy. The red cage mushroom is quite rare, and even appears in the red books of some countries. Therefore, you probably won't see it while walking through the forest, but if it does happen anyway, try not to destroy this endangered fungus. In addition, some researchers argue that all species, without exception, are lethal at any stage of development, so we recommend admiring the red cage fungus from afar. However, you won't mistake this fungus for any other, because it is very strange and even spooky, and because of its smell. The smell of the red cage fungus allows you to recognize it immediately. It's a rotten flesh smell that can be felt at a distance of 10 to 15 meters from the fungus. Hardly anyone would think of satisfying their hunger with something that smells so disgusting. However, poisoning with the red cage fungus can happen, especially among children. Devil's Urn. Here's a fungus known as the Devil's Urn. The devil seems to have a lot of mushrooms, doesn't he? The Devil's Urn has a very original shape and resembles a cup. The diameter of the cap is 2 to 6 centimeters. The Devil's Urn has a short stem too. Initially, mushrooms are egg-shaped and closed, but with time they open and gradually become a cup. As these mushrooms are very dark, it's quite difficult to see them in the forest, especially considering that the Devil's Urns like to grow on the remains of hardwood trees, almost completely immersed in the ground. But if you come across this unusual fungus, you'll surely be surprised. Don't these tiny cups make you think that a few minutes ago there was a witch feast in the forest? Maybe they're still somewhere nearby. Ugh. The Devil's Urn fungus can only be found in the early spring and is completely unsuitable for human consumption. It's just too hard. Therefore, there's no reliable information about the poisonous nature of these mushrooms, but we still don't recommend you to try them. Buddha's Hand. Looks like these fruits, resembling wooden squids, want to catch you. Look, they're reaching out with their yellow fingers towards you. But in reality, it is a variety of citron that it's almost free of pulp because of its genetic characteristics. You can even compare these finger-shaped fruits with very curved bananas, but it'll be hard to get rid of the spooky feeling that this strange yellow tentacled fruit is really alive, and it's waiting for the right moment to grab you. The most adventurous people make candied fruit with this plant, and the pulp is often added to salads and fish dishes. Traditional Chinese medicine experts use these dried fruits as an expectorant, and in East Asia, the so-called Buddha's hands are often used as a talisman, a symbol of happiness, wealth, and longevity. In general, only good things, nothing to do with squids. Fruits are also used to decorate houses and altars as an offering, so don't be that afraid of them. Or maybe. Gymnosporangium juniperi virginiani. A look at this fungus is enough to frown with apprehension, or even to retreat a step or two. This fungus can turn a healthy apple into a gross, slimy, and simply disgusting lump. In a horror movie about evil mushrooms, this would be the main villain, I reckon. So what is this plant? It is a parasitic fungus that infects apple and cedar fruits and changes them in an unrecognizable way. That's how it works. The tiny spores of the fungus grow into an impressive spherical body, 3.5 to 5 centimeters in diameter. When it's moistened, it's also stratified, forming antennae and covering itself with mucus. This show is definitely not for the faint of heart. The development of the mushroom lasts several months, affecting fruits, small branches, and even the leaves of the tree. Obviously, fruits infected with rotten fungi are inedible, which, however, doesn't prevent fans of exotic flavors from tasting them. The result is a bit predictable: poisoning with many side effects. Hydnora africana. One of the most unusual plants on our planet is the Hydnora africana. It's difficult to call it a plant, as it looks too much like a fungus, and even more like the eggs of some alien monster that's about to take over the earth and eat everyone. The The Hydnora is found in eastern Africa and on the island of Madagascar, and has a parasitic way of life, affecting the roots of many tropical trees. That's why this alien plant spends most of its time underground and only comes to the surface when it rains enough, and sometimes it has to wait for the right moment for a long time. But when it blooms, it's simply impossible not to notice, because the smell of the Hydnora is disgusting. We're not joking. The smell of rotten flesh attracts a variety of insects, on which the creepy plant feeds. Yes, it's not only a parasite, but also a predator. However, despite its unpleasant appearance, the African Hydnora is in great demand among the local fauna. Jackals, baboons, foxes, porcupines. By the way, residents of local settlements are happy to eat the flowers, but we still don't recommend you to touch this unusual plant. Psst, dude, are you looking for new technologies and great gadgets? Are your thoughts focused on the future? Do you love huge vehicles and can't imagine your life without robots around you? Then visit TechZone and you'll find all this and more. The link is in the description. You interested? Great.